Welcome back to Focus on Ghana on Vox TV. I mentioned earlier on that you could join us on the phone, and I'm delighted to have the very first person on there. Good evening, caller. Thank you very much. Your name and where you're calling from, and please go ahead.
My name is Echo Onum. I'm calling from Grace in Essex.
Yes.
Yes, I've been listening to your program. I think it's very good, and I listened to Mr. Frank Anderson and Mr. Gyamfi and Kit Yosin of PPP as well. Now, concerning the elections, I know we have 26,000 polling stations. But what Mr. Gyamfi is saying is that what happened in Jolu concerning the ICT. But if you go deeper, you realize that that particular incident is not even included in the petition presented by the three gentlemen. That is the Akufo-Addo, Bawumia, and Jacob Obochibi. So if that Joel incident is so important or so vital, why was it not included in the petition?
Well, we'll be looking at the petition in itself in totality. When we get to that point, I'll get Godwin to address that. Thank you very much for your call. We continue with the program. The NPP's boycott of the inauguration is one of the things that has been happening in Ghana. On the 28th of December last year, the NPP formally petitioned the Supreme Court of Ghana challenging the results of the elections. Subsequently, the party decided to boycott the inauguration of the president on the 7th of January this year. The minority leader in Parliament, Honourable Member of Parliament for Swami, Honourable Adjei-Gyamfi, explained why.
Once you attend, then, as it were, it will be an endorsement to the declaration by the Electoral Commission. And that is why we have decided not to go. And the court matter, we believe, is a more civilized method than resorting to bows and arrows and guns and machetes, as have been happening in some African states. We believe in the rule of law. Let's due process resolve the case that we've taken to the Supreme Court.
Well, the NPP, your party, says that they don't recognize the president who has been duly inaugurated. The incidents you're talking about, is it by way of principle, or you just want to please your teaming supporters? That's why you've boycotted
No, far from it, far from it. I mean, because of constraint of time, I'm not able to give you all the examples of the irregularities, but the NPP are completely right in boycotting the vetting and also boycotting the inauguration. You see, there are three arms of state: the judiciary, which is the courts, the legislature, which is parliament, and the executive, which is the government. We do not have a problem with the judiciary. That's why we allowed our MPs to be sworn by the Chief Justice. We don't have a problem with Parliament because if, for example, the budget was to be presented, yeah, we will participate. But we do have a problem with the executive. And therefore, we must not do anything which will lend legitimacy and credence to the executive, which we are challenging in court. And as a lawyer in this country, I can tell you that cases are won and lost on the basis of credibility, i.e., the quality of being convincing. I mean, if I have an issue with you, is it logical for me to sit around the table for a cup of tea? Of course not.
So it's a matter of principle? It's
a matter of principle, and and also it's a technical issue in law.
Let me find out from, I'll come to you, Mr. Anderson, to find out what you think of the boycott, but back on the phone. Hello, good evening, and welcome to the show. Hello, caller. It looks like
Thank you for leaving a message.
Oh, my days. Well, I'll leave a message. Keep watching Vox Africa TV, and we'll definitely get to you. Mr. Anderson, the NPP says they don't recognize the executive. So anything that is done for the executive and that is brought to Parliament by the executive, they are not bothered.
Well, first of all, I need to correct an impression. The MPs are not sworn by the Chief Justice. They are sworn by the Speaker. But that, aside, it's embarrassing for me to sit here for my colleague who, I mean, their party claim to be the apostles of democracy, rule of law, due process, to be speaking like they were speaking. The Constitution is quite clear. Article 64. 2, it says, a declaration by the Supreme Court that the election of the president is not valid shall be without prejudice to anything done by the president before the declaration. And so you saying that by boycotting inauguration, boycotting a legitimate job that a sitting member of parliament should be doing, i.e. vetting ministers, nominees, exactly, to disburse the public purse, what you have been voted
I'm being mean to you, but let me go to the caller who's spent time and money to call us. Hello, good evening, caller.
Good evening, Chris.
Thank you very much. Your name, and please go ahead with your point.
My name is Chris Kwachi. I think that the NPP are a bit confused because, one, their message they preach outside is different from the petition that is made to the Supreme Court. They come outside and say the elections was systematically rigged. It was systematically, initially they said they took some vote off Nana Akufo-Addo and added it to John Mahama. Nothing of that sort in their petition. Nothing of the word systematically rigged in their petition. Secondly, they gathered and said, let your vote count. And they go to court with a petition asking the court to discount 1.3 million votes. It doesn't make sense to me. How can you, on one hand, say every vote should count? Let your vote count. That's what they are preaching. And then they go to court, and they are pleading with the court, or they are praying with the court, that 1.3 million votes, because of the so-called irregularities, must be discounted. I cannot understand it. I think they, instead of admitting that they lost the election, they are trying to create an impression to the public and to their supporters that, the elections was rigged. I think that what they are doing is disgraceful. The elections was good.
Don't you think that they would want the Supreme Court to make a pronouncement on this? And there are jargons or terminology, so to speak, that are used in court.
Well, see,
they will say one thing outside and say one thing inside.
The Supreme Court will eventually make a ruling. But the point is that what they are creating, the impression they are creating outside is misleading the public. And a lot of people are falling for that.
Well, Kofi, unfortunately, I want to say thank you. I think it's a point well made. Now, Frank, can you just land on your point?
Over the comment made by Chairman Sambozu that they have to be applauded for using the legal process. In fact, they have no choice. There's a reason why Ghana is the first country Sahara of Africa to attain independence. Right. And Ghana is not Kenya. Ghana is not Zimbabwe. And for me, the most indicting statement they are making that because they have resorted to court action, they should be applauded. Hold on a second. These are people that claim to be apostles of democracy. And apostles of democracy should be towing what the law we have put together to govern our behavior.
Is that not what exactly they're doing?
So we shouldn't be seeking that they should be... I've heard all comments that they could have chosen the Kenya part, they could have chosen Cote d'Ivoire part. My goodness sake, Ghana is not Cote d'Ivoire. Ghana is not Zimbabwe.
Ghana is Ghana.
Are bold. They are bold people.
In spite of all the arguments, the inauguration of the president, notwithstanding, as I said, the boycott by the minority, it came off. A very beautiful and orderly event. Saw many top dignitaries from all over the world attending. And it took place at the Independence Square in Accra.
I, John Dramani Mahama,
do in the name of the Almighty God swear.
Do in the name of the Almighty God swear.
That I will bear true faith.
That I will bear true faith.
And allegiance to the Republic of Ghana as by law established.
And allegiance to the Republic of Ghana as by law established. I will work to ensure that our society is less polarized and less weighted down by the pressures of our political differences. I will work to ensure that Ghana is a place where all our citizens, regardless of their religious faith, their ethnicity, or their political affiliation, will have the opportunities available to them to reach their full potential.
Well, that was the inaugural ceremony. Godwin, your party didn't participate in that. But looking at that, it didn't take anything away from it. The beauty was there. It was up to the standard that it was supposed to have taken.
May I say that what you just shown your viewers doesn't actually reflect the whole of Ghana. It doesn't reflect reality whatsoever. I mean, what you just shown your viewers has been they had practiced it for so many days. In fact, it's as good as a drama because it doesn't reflect the reality. But may I just comment on what my colleague said about Article 64? Article 64, he has misinterpreted. Article 64 refers to anything done by the president in his position, for example, signing of contract. It has nothing to do with the operation of evidence in the courtroom whatsoever. I say this because for NPP to participate in the inauguration and the vetting will seriously diminish the credibility of our witnesses and our case in court. That is the point that my friend here doesn't understand. And that's a big difference with Article 64.
Very quick rebuttal. You see, when you are challenging results, where you won parliamentary seat, you said, oh, that's okay. But where you lost is, the seat, you have difficulty. It will be on principle to boycott, Parliament as a whole. Then we can understand you have a case. But you can't cherry pick and choose areas where you're comfortable with. But what is sad is that people elected your members of parliament to represent their interest. Vetting of ministerial nominees is a serious business in parliament.
See, this is where you're wrong. This is where you don't understand.
Can I finish? Can I finish? Yeah. It's a serious business, and you ought to be representing. If you have challenges with the president's election, I would expect you to boycott the entire parliament. Then we know you're not there. Right, but so long as you have decided to be in there, you might as well participate in the process. It doesn't, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't spoil anything.
Then, Godwin, I know it will come in your rebuttal, but give us the basis upon which you have selected others to participate in and others not to.
I did say earlier on that there are 3 arms of state.
Right.
I said the judiciary, the court, which we don't have any problem with, and the executive, and the legislative, and the legislative. But when it comes to the executive, we do have a problem, and that is we cannot file a petition challenging the president-elect and at the same time sit around the table with him or his party to legitimize, to assist with his ministers, selecting of his ministers. The ordinary
Ghanaian will ask you that, well, the president brings in ministers, yes. He brings in the budget, yes. When contracts are supposed to be signed and looked into by parliament, it comes from the government that is headed by the president. So you might as well boycott everything.
No. Far from it. Far from it. We don't have a problem with parliament. So if the budget is brought in, we will debate it. We will participate. We will participate because it's going through parliament.
That is it is not. Almost every business parliament conducts come from the executive. How do you decide not to participate in vetting the ministers who will be bringing the budget proposals and all the expenditure on the consolidated funds?
Could it also not be in a situation where if the Supreme Court says, yes, let's overturn the results, and the president is to be removed from office, he goes away with his ministers.
Precisely.
So they may have to decide not to do something that can go away.
First of all, Supreme Court has not overturned results. Here's the scenario I want to paint to my colleague here. Assuming without admitting that Supreme Court does in fact overturn the results, NDC has majority in Parliament. Per their behavior, not cooperating, showing, any kind of flexibility in the way they do their things. We have to be vetting their ministers, and any business they bring to Parliament has to pass Parliament. We have majority. How are they going to rule the country?
So are you now right now pleading to your sensibilities rather than
I'm not
going
pleading.
by the principle?
It's logic. I'm just that's why when I said Kedia says they lack logic, I agree with him. You are a minority. You are seeking to have a result overturned. You are not cooperating with the majority. If the result then gets overturned and Akufo-Addo becomes president, how do you intend to pass your bills in Parliament? How do you get the numbers to pass the bill?
We'll cross that bridge when we come.
At this point, then, we will cross my bridge of taking a break, and we will be back. And when we return, we shall be looking at the petition and the Supreme Court encounters. Stay with us.